Hey, everyone, it's Gordon. Welcome. Podcast marketing for business. How many of you have considered in the past starting a podcast? Well, let me share with you six amazing reasons why I believe you should start a podcast. Number one, a podcast is an excellent way to brand your business. Build your brand, and I believe in business as a entrepreneur, small business owner, you are you are the brand. You are the brand. Number two, it's very simple to get started. You don't need expensive recording equipment or studio. I'll get into that a little later in this presentation. So simple to get started, you guys. It's number three, it's an excellent way for you to attract new leads, new clients. Number four, it's an excellent way to grow your audience. You know, in business, whether it's in sales or in business, would you agree sales is just a numbers game? And the more people you know, right, the bigger the funnel, the more people you know, the bigger your audience. Eventually, you're going to figure out based on the size of your audience, how many people are truly engaged with you, how many people are not only engaged with you, but they will actually buy your products or services. Number five, build your confidence in speaking skills. Often we think about speaking skills with someone who's actually presenting and selling on a stage. And if that's the case, yes, being in front of a computer like this, being in front of a podcast will help you improve your communication and speaking skills. Sincerely believe that. We've all heard that the more you speak, the better you become, right? The more you do something, the better you become. So the more you speak, the better you're going to become as a speaker, and the more confidence you're going to build for yourself. And every episode that you do, you'll just get better and better and better. And number six, as a podcaster, you'll be seen as the expert and go-to person in your industry, in your market, or in your specific niche. Here are a number of podcast influencers that have influenced myself to want to start a podcast. I'm sure some of you have individuals that have influenced yourself, right? Or podcasts that you consistently listen to. The three I want to share with you are individuals, again, that have made a positive impact in my life, and they're individuals who are actually podcasting themselves and having tremendous success. The first individual, Scott Patton. I call Scott a digital nomad. It seems like I can't keep track of my friend Scott. You know, one day he's in Brazil, the next day he's in Colombia, the next day he's swinging a hammock in Panama City, Panama. He is just everywhere, living this incredible digital nomad lifestyle. In fact, some of my courses, online courses that I have collaborated with Scott, with a number of other amazing thought leaders, has allowed me to have over, I believe it's probably around 140,000 plus students from all around the world on Udemy. So Scott was the individual that told me about podcasting. And I remember when Scott told me he had started a podcast called Weight Loss in the Mind. And that podcast in the first year generated over 300,000 downloads. I'm sorry, let me back up. Over 300,000 subscribers and 1 million downloads. It's pretty incredible, isn't it? I mean, if your business that you have right now had over 300,000 subscribers and 1 million downloads, what would that do for the brand and credibility of your business? Sam Crowley, every day is Saturday. Sam has a brilliant story. I remember when Sam came to speak here in Toronto for one of my events, Business Well Summits, and then eventually Sam spoke at Business Well Summits, not only here in Toronto, but New York and Chicago and California. But Sam has a pretty unique story. Every day is Saturday. Remember Sam sharing that his daughter at the time was 3 years old, and she would say, "Daddy," when are you going to be home? And Sam would say, Saturday. You see, Sam was in the corporate world, and that was the question his daughter would ask him every time he went to work. Daddy, when are you going to be home? Can anyone relate to that? Daddy, when are you going to be home? Mommy, when are you going to be home? And so Sam thought best thing to do was for him to leave the corporate rat race, and he bought a restaurant, went bankrupt. Ouch. I remember Sam saying that, when you're down and out, that's when you know who your true friends are. And so he tried a number of things. He tried real estate. He tried speaking and selling on stage, different businesses. And what he did was he started a podcast called Everyday Saturday. He hit over 1 million plus downloads. And at that time, when he hit 1 million downloads, Les Brown called him. We all know Les Brown, right? The number one motivational speaker on the planet. I love Les Brown. One of my favorite quotes from Les Brown is he says, some people are willing to do today what others are not willing to do so they can have tomorrow what others won't have. And so Sam said, he was listening on his iPod. He would go for runs. He listened to his iPod, to the Les Browns, the Tony Robbins, the Robert Kiyosaki's, the Mark Victor Hansons, and so on. And he thought, if these individuals can get into my headspace, maybe one day I could do the same for others. And so he started Everyday Saturday. Make a long story short, today he has over 20 million plus downloads with his podcast. They're on iTunes, they're on Spotify, they're on iHeartRadio. And he's created such an incredible career in the speaking industry. I remember Sam saying that, there was a time when he struggled. He really struggled as a speaker. He struggled to make money presenting and selling on stage. And there was one time when he was, when he did a episode. So I did an episode from my smartphone. Okay. I mentioned earlier, you don't need expensive equipment. So I did an episode on my smartphone. I was at Panera Breads, and I did a 10-minute episode. And someone who's been following me and loves my podcast invited me to go speak at an event. And so he went to speak at an event. There was about 500 people at that event. Now, remember, I mentioned up until now, he had struggled to make money speaking and selling on stage. So Gordon, during that event, there was about 500 people there. And the product I was selling every day of Saturday, teaching people how to live every day of Saturday, the product was about $1,000. And that day, he sold over $250,000. Can you imagine a 90-minute presentation where he sold over $250,000? Now, that is something that I do as well, working with authors, coaches, and speakers, and training them to become someone who knows how to speak and sell on stage as well. But Sam made over $250,000 in sales in that one 90-minute presentation. It's launched his career, and he's never looked back. And his podcast, Every Day is Saturday, continues to grow. And then there's Terry Fallis. Terry is someone I play hockey with. And I remember Terry saying to me, he said, Gordon, I published a book, or I wrote a book. It wasn't published yet. I wrote a book called The Best Laid Plans. And he said, Gordon, I would have been excited if I would have even received a rejection letter from a publishing house. He said, for about a year, no response from anybody, nobody called me, nobody sent me even a rejection letter. And so he decided he would self-publish the book, but what he did was he started a podcast. Common theme here, right? Podcast. And he said, I started a podcast and I started to read my book, The Best Laid Plans, one chapter at a time. So in fact, there was one time when I put out an episode, I was still in my pajamas here at home. And I get this message from someone in China who was stuck in traffic. And this individual said, thank you so much, Terry, because I'm stuck in traffic right now. If it wasn't for your podcast, I'd be bored to death. So I often get asked, when you start a podcast, who's going to listen to it? Who knows, right? Terry would have never thought in a million years he's here in Toronto, Canada, and there's someone in China stuck in traffic listening to his podcast. So individuals like that kept on reaching out, leaving reviews like that for him, encourage him to not only continue with his podcast, but to self-publish his book, The Best Laid Plans. That book went on to win a Leacock Award for Humor, a very prestigious award, Medal of Honor, Stephen Leacock Award for Humor. It's hard, very hard to win it, but he won it. He's actually won it twice now. Since then, he's cut a deal with a publishing house, and I believe he's already published like 6, 7, 8, or 9 books with them. And what's really unique is Terry was sharing with me one time. I had him speak at one of our events, and he was sharing with the audience that he was averaging now, because of the book, because of the podcast, over 150 plus speaking engagements per year. And these speaking engagements includes live speaking engagements, as well as podcasts or radio or television, and so on. But uniquely enough, his first book that was rejected was turned into a play. And that same book was also turned into a mini CBC television series. Is that amazing? People say when you start a podcast, it's going to open doors for you. Look at the doors that the podcast opened for individuals like Terry, Sam, and Scott. And I believe it can do the same for you as well if you start your podcast. Now, a platform I would recommend for hosting your podcast is Podbean. There are a number of really good platforms out there. I happen to use Podbean myself. I tried various different platforms before, and I've settled with Podbean. I think it's an incredible platform. There's so many incredible features. There's Patreon programs on there. You can do live streaming on there. When I first started with Podbean, I had to find a way to record it and then upload to Podbean. But Podbean today has even a simple strategy where you can literally download a Podbean app, press play or press record your message, and submit it when you finish right to Podbean. Isn't it amazing? You just record on your smartphone, record it, submit it, and you're done. And so if the information I just shared with you has inspired you to take action to start your own podcast, please use, if you choose to, it's totally up to you, full transparency, use my affiliate link. You can go to podbean.com/social media currency and register there, sign up for a Podbean account. And I don't even know the amount. I think they send me like a $5 or a $10 referral if you decide to use my affiliate link to get started. So often I get people saying, Gordon, you've inspired me to start a podcast, like Jelani Daniel, who's a mortgage broker. He's also an author for the book called King of Quotes. And today his podcast has over 80,000 plus downloads. And often he would say, well, how can I thank you for it? Can I buy you coffee? Can I buy you lunch? Well, if you want to do that, one of the best ways to do it is just simply use the affiliate link that's here for you to get started. A couple of other neat things about Podbean is they have incredible tutorial. They have video tutorials. If you have a question, they probably already have a video tutorial and instruction on what you need to do, how to set it up, how to, let's say, syndicate, automate your podcast to all these different directories. So you record, you upload, and boom, if you set it once, it automatically goes to iTunes, Stitcher Radio, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music. Isn't that amazing? So if you're thinking about a way to brand yourself, perhaps even dominate the Google search engine, wouldn't it be great if every episode that you put out automatically ends up in all these podcast directories as well? Apple, let's talk about the elephant in the room. I know there's, Spotify, there's all these other platforms, but the elephant in the room, you guys, is Apple, iTunes. They're huge. They're monstrous. And your podcast could be found on their platform. Okay, how do you record? What do you use for recording? I mentioned to you, you don't need an expensive recording studio. It's not like in the days where you had to spend a lot of money for a studio and equipment. In fact, when I first started, I just simply used my regular earbuds for my iPhone. And then I eventually bought a Blue Yeti. Those are the microphones that I use. And while I'm recording with you right now, I'm using my wireless earphones from my iPhone. And recording, again, you could you can record using the app on your smartphone, or I like to use a tool called StreamYard. StreamYard is a pretty neat tool. You can do a video recording offline if you want to. It doesn't have to be live. You can do it offline, the recording. And when you finish recording, it saves a HD quality video and an audio for you. And it's a simple little dashboard where you can just go point, click, and download that video in HD quality that you can upload to YouTube, LinkedIn, your blogs, and other platforms, digital assets that you own. Or you can download the audio and you can upload it here to Podbean, and voila, it'll end up on platforms like iTunes, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and so on. So the other thing I love about StreamYards is if you want to go live, let's say you want to be more interactive, you can actually invite a guest onto StreamYard. You can actually have up to 10 guests if you want, like 10 people on at a time, where you can actually do a live interview and have that live interview fed into your Facebook group simultaneously. So if you have Facebook groups, they can be watching your live in real time on Facebook or on YouTube. So if somebody's on Facebook or on LinkedIn, you could actually have that fed to YouTube, where someone could actually be watching your interview live. In fact, this week, I was able to help a good friend of mine, Randy Goodman, who's the founder of the Toronto Women's Expo and the Empower Women to Succeed community, help them do a 2-hour online launch on using StreamYard to Facebook and YouTube simultaneously. I was able to interview 16 of her amazing authors spread out from all over North America. And one of them was in Hong Kong. And we did the interview live, and folks could watch on Facebook and YouTube at the same time. And then when we were finished, that entire interview was saved literally within seconds. It was already in the back office in the dashboard, and I could go there and download the video and the audio. So that, in my opinion, is a very cost-effective way for you to record an episode. Zoom is the same thing. If you own Zoom, you can pre-record an episode on Zoom. You can interview someone on Zoom. So you could do a solo podcast, or you can do an interview style. It's totally up to you. But when you're finished recording, Zoom also saves a video file and an audio file for you that you can use as well. It'll allow you to save those two files automatically you can choose to save it on your desktop, or you can save it in the cloud. So again, when you finish your interview, you can go and download the video or the audio and upload it to your various different platforms. Simple, isn't it? Okay, so you don't need expensive recording equipment, and you don't need expensive microphones either for you to record an episode. So what do you talk about? Often I get asked, Gordon, what should I talk about? Well, if you're in business, talk about business. What business are you in, right? Sports, can you start a sports show, a football show, a soccer show, a gymnastics show, cricket? Like what sport do you love? Rugby, basketball, baseball, curling, figure skating. Start something of interest, basket weaving, crocheting, something you have you're passionate about. Maybe it's something people can learning a new skill. Book review, start a book club where you review books together as a club and turn some of those episodes into a podcast. Maybe you're a coach, you're a life coach, you're a business coach. And I mentioned earlier, you could do solo podcasting, or you could do interviews. I mentioned to you earlier my friend Scott Patton. Scott has produced and co-produced probably 30 or 40 different podcasts now. And he often has a co-host that he does a show with. And one time Scott said to me, Gordon, if I do a podcast on my own, I may or may not show up. Can anyone relate to that? Because there are always times when we feel like, should I or should I not, right? Remember, commitment is doing the thing you said you would do long after the mood in which you have said it has left you. And so sometimes we say we're committed, and then there's some times where we have days where we may not feel like getting out of bed, right? So that's why I like to have a co-host for my podcast. He said, Gordon, if you and I are co-hosting a podcast together, if I don't show up, then I'm letting you down. That's a pretty good point. So you can decide, you want to do a solo podcast or you want to do an interview podcast. I remember talking to someone who was a home inspector, and they wanted to get business from real estate agents. And they asked me, well, what do I do? I said, start a podcast. Well, what do I talk about? I said, just interview real estate agents, right? Interview real estate agents after real estate agents after real estate agents. And you can interview real estate lawyers, you can interview other home inspectors, you can interview contractors, anything that relates to real estate. And a few months later, I got a message from them that they were so busy. They were thanking me for encouraging and getting them started with the podcast, because they were saying that we're so busy now with home inspections that I don't even have time sometimes to bring in, I don't have enough time to take in some of the new business that's coming in. So whatever market, whatever business, whatever niche you're in, find out who can you interview. So, but again, it's got to be something you're passionate about. Start a travel show. Okay, so you decide what is it that you're passionate about and what topic you want to talk about. Remember, this is your show. You are the host. You are the producer. You are allowed to talk about what you want to talk about. So what's the secret to a successful podcast? In my opinion, just be yourself. Be yourself. Again, there's no need to fake it. You have enough faith and belief in your own expertise is what I would suggest. Have enough faith and believe in your own expertise and your own passion and your own knowledge. Only talk about things that you're passionate about. Only talk about things that you are knowledgeable about. And if you do that and you're consistent and you keep going, you never quit and you never stop, you are going to be a huge success as a podcaster. Can you imagine if you do your first episode, if you're anything like me, my first episode absolutely sucked. It was terrible. I was scared. I was nervous. I had sweaty hands, sweaty palms. I stuttered. I really struggled with my first couple of episodes. But I'll promise you, by the time you hit your 100th episode, you are going to be a rock star. And every episode you put out there, you're building your brand, you're building equity. Amazon Music's going to pick it up, Spotify's going to pick it up, iTunes going to pick it up, and you're going to be able to use this brand, all the extra traffic, to drive even more traffic back to your other digital marketing assets. And so as the traffic starts to come in, just make sure that whatever your definite major purpose is, if you're looking to generate more leads, get more business, get more clients, that you either know how to do it yourself or work with someone that can actually build a really nice lead platform, that is, the leads as you attract leads and they come in, you know exactly how to handle those leads, nurture those leads, follow up with those leads, turn them into more clients, more sales, and more income and revenue for your business. So once again, my name is Gordon. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this short little introduction to why I believe you should start a podcast to build your brand and dominate your market. So thank you so much. I look forward to hearing your podcast out in the podcasting world. Have an amazing day, everyone.